When we touch spaciousness, we discover that in letting go, there arises a natural compassion, the great heart of a Buddha. In this, we find that the true place of peace is one of trust, an open, spacious heart in the very midst of our life, says Jack Kornfield in this practice-steeped episode of the Heart Wisdom Podcast. 306, The Spacious Heart, Transcending Duality through Meditation and Sound. This, I can say, is a heart wisdom like you have never heard before, packed full of mini meditations and something that I've never experienced Jack doing before, him leading a deeply resonant, guided sound journey into the spacious heart of awareness. This is part 2 from last week and took place on July 12th, 1993 at Spirit Rock Meditation Center, and is truly a vibratory journey, tapping into mantra, the healing power of sound, letting go of perfectionism, and learning how to handle the weather of the heart in ease, spaciousness, and grace. But before we dive into this meditative sound journey, I have some really exciting housekeeping for you this week. As I've been sharing Jack's Sacred Journey Home, a retro course of unearthed lost tapes from a 1990 retreat in Yucca Valley is underway now. If you sign up when this podcast releases, you can join in for the second live Q&A call. But if you're listening after the fact, this is an evergreen course, self-guided, take at your own pace, and you get lifetime access. So if you want to join Jack in a vintage 1990 retreat, head to jackkornfield.com and sign up for the Sacred Journey Home. And here is something many of you have been waiting quite some time for, and we are releasing to podcast listeners first. Jack will be back on land at Spirit Rock teaching a day-long retreat on November 22nd. Inner technology for outer technology. This day-long retreat will focus on how we can use the inner technology of spirituality to meet the ever-changing outer technology of this brave new world we're stepping into. I do not believe there will be an online counterpart live stream for this. So if you want to sign up for this and join Jack in person at Spirit Rock Meditation Center, please head to jackkornfield.com and go to the events page. So there we go. Thank you for being here. As always, I'm Ganesh, honored to open the door to episode 306 of the Heart Wisdom Podcast, The Spacious Heart, Transcending Duality through Meditation and Sound with Jack Kornfield. May you be happy and healthy. May you be safe and protected. May you help others through your authenticity. And may you transcend duality into the spacious heart of loving awareness. Namaste.
What I'd like to do is lead a little meditation that gives you a sense of spaciousness. So make sure that you're seated in a comfortable way. We'll be for 15 or 20 minutes. Well, meditation comes from one of the great texts called the Sutra of Great Liberation. That begins, there being really no duality, all separation is untrue. Until duality is transcended, enlightenment cannot be attained. The whole of samsara, all of the worlds, and nirvana, as an inseparable unity, are one's own mind. To know this, look within your own mind. When one seeks the nature of one's mind, it is found to be quite intelligible, although invisible. In its true nature, mind is naked, immaculate, being of the voidness, timeless, transparent, containing all things yet not limited by them. To know if this is so or not, look within your own mind. So just listen with your eyes closed gently, first to the words as I speak. Forget your breath and body for a few moments, the usual way we meditate, and just listen to sound. To know if this is so or not, look within your own mind. The soft sounds in the room, the distant sounds of children's voices on a summer evening, the sound of these bells, let yourself rest at ease and just listen with an open and careful attention. And as you listen, let yourself sense or feel or imagine in any way you can that your mind is not limited to your head, but rather that your awareness or consciousness expands beyond your head to be as big as this room and bigger, open like the sky, space without boundaries. There is no inside or outside. Rather, let the sounds arise in the great, vast space of your own consciousness. There is no solid body, just space, and sounds come and go like clouds or bubbles. Let go of boundaries. In its true state, mind is open like the sky, vast, without limits, containing all things, yet not limited by them. Simply listen and rest in the great open space of mind. Sounds come and go, like clouds. The mind remains open without boundaries. Voices appear in one part and bells in another. The mind in its true state is naked, clear, timeless. As you pay attention, the wakefulness of the space of awareness. Let yourself also be aware of the breath. There's no inside or outside. The breath moves like a breeze. It breathes itself. And in the same space of mind, there's a coolness or pressure, like a breeze moving in the center. Sounds come and go, and the breath moves like a breeze, without boundaries. There's no inside or outside. There's no solid body if you feel quite carefully. There are points and areas of pressure, temperature, sensation that float in an open sea or space of attention. There's no head, no back, no arms or legs, just pressure, warmth, tingling, sensations that float slowly. The breath moves like a breeze, and sounds arise and dance in the space. Nothing inside and nothing outside. Let the mind be perfectly at ease, open, containing all things, neither moving toward or away from, like the space of sky. Sounds come and go. The breath moves like a breeze in space. The body floats not solid at all, just pressure and temperature areas of experience floating in space. Become aware of the thoughts and images that arise and pass. Words come and go. Pictures appear like the sunset or the sunrise and pass away. The space, the sky of mind, contains them all. They come from nowhere and they vanish back into silence. Thoughts arise and pass. Sounds come and go. No inside and no outside. In this open space, be aware also of moods and feelings, like beautiful colors in the water, like changes in the weather, joy and sorrows, thoughts and images arise and pass away, like the breath and sounds. Arising and leaving no trace. Rest in the great spaciousness. In its true state, mind is found to be quite intelligible, although invisible. In its true state, mind is clear and vacuous like the sky, without boundaries or limits, naked, immaculate, not made of anything, being of the voidness, allowing for all things, yet in no way limited by them. To know if this is so or not, rest at ease, Listen and look within your own mind. The next time you hear the bells, when they fade away, allow your eyes to open and notice the appearance of form and color around you in the same great, open and clear space of mind. No inside or outside, just this which arises and the great space that holds it all. Thoughts come and go. The breath moves like a breeze, rising like clouds and bubbles. The mind is silent and open. Kabir says it this way, "Are you looking for me? I am in the next seat. My shoulder is against yours." It is not far away what we seek, the peace, openness, nearer than near. Did you have a sense of that, of how the boundaries can open, some of you? All right, then there is a quiz, a little question. And it's really a quiz that we might well have given a couple of weeks ago with the story of Nachiketa visiting Lord of Death, Yama. And that quiz is this. What about compassion? Here's this great sense of space and openness, all things coming and going. How do you act in the world then? What about kindness? Or, if you were here for that story, how does Nachiketa return from the land of death, having discovered that which is timeless, immortal, the undying? Then what brings you back? What do you do? Anyone have an answer? Please. No grades, I promise. From that sense of space, what's the source of action or compassion? Yes?
You just be and allow it to arise and have its play.
So you just be, she says, and allow it to arise and have its play, and then will it just come by itself?
Mm-hmm.
She thinks it will just come by itself. Okay, please.
The action is called for. The action is called for by circumstance, by situation, and it's simply by being in tune to circumstance that response is evoked. It's called out of us.
So the action will be called out of us by circumstance. Just being in the circumstance, the action will be called for.
Part of the circumstance.
By becoming a part of the circumstance.
Because you know then that you're not separate from anything.
Because you know then that you're not separate from anything. 3 answers, connected answers. Anything else? Julian of Norwich, wonderful saint and poet, wrote some lines which T.S. Eliot quotes or uses in his last great epic poem, the Four Quartets. The vision of a mystic, really, the heart of a very deep realization. She writes, "All shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well." All shall be well. An amazing thing to say. Even in death, even in suffering, she sees the exquisite and absolute perfection of the world. The perfection of all things in harmony, even in the face of war and famine and the horrors that we see around Bosnia or the Holocaust or other grave, grave injustices, the famines in Africa. What does that mean, perfection? The third Zen patriarch writes about it in this quite astonishing line, for me the most amazing line in all of Zen literature, where he says, to be enlightened is to be without anxiety about non-perfection. To not be anxious about non-perfection is to be enlightened, because it's not perfect by your idea. It is perfect in the way that it is. I read you a story. In a little Indian village lived a weaver who was very pious. All day long he would say the name of God, and people trusted him. When he wove a certain amount of cloth, he'd take it to the marketplace. If anyone asked the price, he would say, "By the will of Ram," this was his name of God, "the price is 35 cents, the labor of the yarn. The labor is 10 cents, the profit by the will of Ram is 4 cents. So the price of this piece by the will of God is 49 cents. And everyone had such faith in the man, they didn't bargain, they just paid what he asked. Now the weaver was in habit of going to the village temple at night to chant praises of God and sing the glories of his name. Late one night, chanting, a band of robbers burst in. They needed someone to carry their stolen goods, so they said, "Come with us." The weaver meekly accompanied them with the goods on his head, as they do in India. Soon the police gave chase, and the robbers ran. The weaver ran with them, but since he was an old man, the police soon caught him. Finding the stolen goods, they arrested him, threw him in jail. The following morning, he was sent before the judge and accused of burglary. When the judge asked what he had to say for himself, this is what he said. "Your Honor, by the will of Ram, I finished my meal last night, and by the will of Ram, I went to the temple, and there to chant his praises. That is when suddenly, by the will of Ram, a band of robbers burst in, and by Rama's will invited me to carry their goods away for them. They put such a load on my head that when, by the will of Ram, the police gave chase, I was easily caught. Then, by the will of Ram, I was arrested and thrown in jail. And here I am standing before you this morning by the will of Ram." The judge said to the policeman, "Let the man go. He is evidently out of his mind." Back home, when asked what had happened, the pious weaver said, "By the will of Ram, I was arrested and tried in court, and by the will of Ram, I have been acquitted." So there is this space of perfection, like the astronauts who look down on the earth and see this form of life that we're in, and all the forms of life, birth and death and joy and sorrow. And, how often is it that they say every 100 million years or so, some huge comet strikes the earth and wipes out all the dinosaurs and might wipe out all the mammals next time or something? We think we're important in some way, the ant people that are here for just a little while. But from some perspective, there's a much greater dance going on that we are a part of in some deep, profound, and timeless way, and it's not just this limited body. So how does this connect with compassion? There were some very good answers, weren't there? In Sanskrit, there is a great mantra. The Tibetans particularly use it, but other Buddhists, Om Mani Padme Hum, the jewel is in the lotus. And one meaning is the jewel is the mind, and the lotus is the heart. And the Buddha taught, he began to teach because he looked out, resting in this perfect peace, and he saw beings everywhere seeking happiness, but often doing the very thing that would bring them to suffering. Haven't you noticed? And so there was this movement in his heart to say, no, It's much simpler than that, what you seek. Last week we talked about racism. The men's retreat that finished yesterday, we talked about grief and sorrow. We did a grieving ritual and went and wept and went into the trees to pray for some grace to tell each of us how to live in the world. And the Buddha, he saw this folly of beings caused by illusion, caused by fear, by greed, by prejudice, by hatred. And all of this comes out of separation. My body, my territory, my country. This sense of separation that we call the body of fear. The fear of loss, the fear of being mistreated, the fear of those who are different. And when we come to touch spaciousness, within that, we discover in that letting go that there is a natural compassion, the great heart of a Buddha. For in the perfection of things, in this great perfection, there also arises perfect compassion. And you can sense it. It said the image of the Buddha is of two wings, like a bird flying free in the sky, one of clarity, of spaciousness, and the other of the heart of compassion, space and form. Because when we are free of fear, which is really what space is about, just to breathe and take some space, not be so afraid, not to be so contracted. When we're free of fear, there comes a natural response, as someone said. Our connectedness is there right out of the center of our heart. Thich Nhat Hanh talked about it. He said, in the boats, the boat people that left Vietnam, those boats that had one person on them that was really unafraid, when they met the great storms or the pirates, they generally made it through. But if there wasn't one person that was in that center, in that spaciousness, often everyone became crazed and frightened and they didn't make it. Or remember that wonderful picture from Tiananmen Square of that one man with his shopping bags coming back from market. Remember him? And there's that long row of tanks coming down the road, and he's standing there in front of the tanks, and the tanks stop. And it's beautiful because it's like he's got his goods from the market there. It's not like he's some extraordinary sadhu or yogi or something. He's just coming from the market, and there he is standing in front of the tanks. And he says, you cannot do this. From that place of being unafraid. You know, there was a symphony orchestra in Sarajevo. And Sarajevo was a center of beautiful culture, 400,000, 500,000 people. And one of the old men in the city, much of the symphony orchestra fled to other parts of Europe, stayed, was a cellist. Some of you may have seen this on TV. And in spite of the shellings and the bombings, he would go out every day at a certain time of the day and go to a square and open up his case and sit down and play music on his cello for the residents of Sarajevo. The image of the Buddha that's on the wall there is the Buddha with 1,000 heads and 1,000 arms of compassion. And all around him is this flames, because life has sorrow and loss and pain as much as it has beauty and love and creativity. They can't be separated. How can you separate birth and death? They're on the same ticket. You get the ride, and then, you know how they tear it in half in the movie? This half's birth and that half's death. So the Buddha sits in the middle of joy and sorrow and hot and cold and day and night and pleasure and pain. And sits in the midst of that fire, and out of the heart comes 1,000 arms to touch the sorrows of others. A heart that is at peace and timeless. And from that place, this knowing that we are all connected. Seeing beings who want to be happy, doing the things that cause suffering, and saying, no, there's another way. The Buddha called it wisdom. To act or move like a bee, touching the essence of the flower without harm to it through life. Part of the perfection is the quivering of the heart, the tears of love or compassion when we care for another being as ourselves, because we are that being. We are unified in that consciousness. I read you a very short poem from Zen Master Isa. Listen to it carefully. Dew evaporates, and all our world is dew. This is the first line. That was that space, you could feel it. Dew evaporates, thoughts, sounds, our whole life. Dew evaporates, and all our world is dew. So dear, so refreshing, so fleeting. Now what's important to know about this poem is that it is the poem that he wrote on the death of his child. Listen again. Dew evaporates, and all our world is dew. So dear, so refreshing, so fleeting. What we seek, in the end, what we long for, is a peace that is not made or created, that's not far away, that never dies. It is that spaciousness. Anything, the difficulties in your life, to find a place of space, of graciousness, of enjoyment, of what is the 10,000 joys and the 10,000 sorrows. And so again, Zen Master Ryokan, he sits in his little hut. And he says, listening to the evening rain, the great way I braid a spring flower into a ball, the future, if a visitor brings these questions, I have only the tranquility of the hermitage to offer. Once again, the children and I fight a battle using the spring grasses, now advancing, retreating, each time with more refinement. Twilight. It's time for the children to return home. The bright round moon helps me endure the loneliness. He's beautiful because he doesn't say that there isn't everything. There's joy and there's loneliness and there's peace and there's all of life. My life may appear melancholy, but traveling through this world, I entrust myself to heaven. In my sack, 3 quarts of rice. By the hearth, a bundle of firewood. If someone asks, what is the mark of enlightenment or illusion? I cannot say. Praise and blame, wealth and honor are nothing but dust. As the evening rain falls, I sit in my hermitage and stretch out both feet in an answer. So let your eyes close for a moment, if you would. Sit. Let yourself be spacious, open, at peace. The breath breathes itself. The feelings and thoughts arise like waves of the ocean. And allow yourself to think of a difficult situation in your life now. Conflict, struggle, something that you have sorrow or problem with. Personally, community, greater in any way in your life. And as you think of it, ask yourself how it would be to be more spacious. You might respond in any way necessary, but feel what it would be like to have more space in your body, in your breath, in your mind, in your heart. So tonight, these are some of the teachings of space and equanimity. Perhaps a bit of a balance to the suffering we spoke of last week, the sorrows, racism, the pains that we experience so much in modern times. If the meditation on sound was useful to you, you can work with that. It's a beautiful meditation to do. If it wasn't, you can just go back to your breath and body. Different meditations fit for various temperaments. So simply be respectful of what works for yourself. So let's sit and do a little chant to end. And the chant is one we do often in the evenings here. It's simply the chant of opening or letting go. It's the sound ah. And we'll sing that for a little bit and then rest in the space that remains from it. Dew evaporates and all our world is dew. So dear, so refreshing, so fleeting. May you rest in peace, spaciousness this week, and may the movement of your heart that connects you with all things give you the gift of words and actions to touch and heal the world around you. Thank you.